Okay, so let's start working on the shovel. Let's make sure all of our stuff is labeled. So we'll call that strap. We'll add that to the bucket layer and the shovel reference here. Okay, so the actual construction of our shovel is very similar to what the strap was for this top part. If we were to look at this, I'm first going to just kind of push this back for my reference, and I'm also going to go over here and click on this little blank space until I see it turn into an R. That's going to prevent me from clicking on that as I work. I'm going to go into my cylindrical primitive object here, and now that I have this here, I'm going to go in and change out my subdivisions to a 12. I only need the top cap, so I'm going to delete these out. So in my face mode, I'm going to hit delete. And I'm going to use J while I rotate. So tap E for the rotation tool, J, and rotate that forward. Okay, now what we're going to do, I'm going to move my reference just a little bit so it's a little bit better centered. Like that. T, R, that's locked down now. With this, I'm going to scale this down. I'm also going to turn off my grid. I don't really need that. Scale that down so it kind of matches that shape. Now you can see there's like a U shape to this. If I take my vertices, so right click, hold down, go to vertex mode, let go, grab these, move these out, move these out, and let's just kind of move that down a little bit more. Tap the 3 key to see what that interior shape's doing. That's great. I'm going to double click, and let's use our scale tool, hold down shift and pull. Tapping the 3 key, it's going to give me that shape, which I like. I don't need the inside, so I'm going to delete that. Now I have this shape. Still good. Okay. Now, if I want to maintain that hard edge, I'll come back to this to get a little bit of cleanup on it, but that's looking good. Down here, I'm going to add a cut over here. And while I'm using my multi-cut, so I'm in my modeling toolkit with multi-cut, if I hold down Control, I want to make sure that I am snapping on percentages. So I'm going to hold down Shift as well. So Control and Shift are held down. I'm going to go about 30% here. And on this side, the opposite of 30. So if I subtract 30 from 100, that's about 70. We'll click there. Now I have these two cuts. If I grab vertices by right-clicking, go to vertex mode and select here, hold down. Now you can see that I have this kind of shape that's ready to come out. So from here to here, I can pull straight down. We're going to do that. We're going to grab these two edges, hold down shift, pull down. I am going to scale this so it's flat. So I use my scale with the yellow, squished it so it's flat. And let's leave this part alone. We're going to come back to it. We're going to hold down shift, pull down. And then let's do it again. We're going to pull down again by holding down shift about to here. And now let's use our scale tool and widen that out. Something like that. Now, what we're going to do is kind of establish some markers for ourselves. We're going to make this three-dimensional in a little bit, but we're going to actually just kind of build this out in flat, and then we'll push and pull some stuff around later on. Again, this is a vacuum formed model, so we're not going to have to worry about what the other side of this model is. We only really need to worry about the details from one direction, because it's going to represent both the front and back. But if I take this and I'm going to pull down once, that'll kind of establish the upper ridge of this. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to pull down. And let's do it one more time. So we're 1, 2, 3 we've done. Okay. Now, let's go all the way to the bottom. So hold down shift and pull. So we've done this. Okay. Now, what we need to be able to do for this next step is to construct these sides. And I'm not going to do this on both sides. I'm only going to do it once, and then I'll mirror over this entire model to the other side. So what I want to be able to think about here is where this needs to change direction. So if I were to actually take from here, hold down shift to here, notice I have all these edges. I'm going to hold down shift again and pull. We got something like this going on. Now, here's where it may look a little bit odd, but if I were to take, let's say, from about here, I'm going to move that in. I'm going to take these two and pull these down. And then let's take this one and kind of, so what I want to be able to do is have this go out at an angle. And right now that's kind of going up. So I'm going to actually move this over a little bit more like that. And for the reasons of changing direction is what we're doing here. I have kind of this shape happening where it's almost like a 45-degree angle. And the reason for that is we're going to add polygons right here that would allow it for this to turn right here, down, and then down again. Let's see, how can I do that? Well, if I take this one right here, and I'm going to hold down the shift key, pull. I'm going to do it one more time. Hold down shift and pull. Now you can see this is flat, this is at 40. I can connect these and it gives me a directional change for my polygons, and it still maintains the quad. So what I'm going to do is grab this one and that one, and this one and that one. I'm holding down the shift keys for my edges. I'm going to use bridge. Okay. This made a directional change for me. What this is going to do when I smooth it up, it still looks like a shovel. It's in 2D. But you can see where that can kind of go inwards and allow for me to actually have some depth to this. So that's good. What I'm going to do now is delete off half of this model. I don't need it. Now that I have half this model gone, let's use mirror. Mirror went terribly for us. And the reason why is because the merge threshold is too high. Now it is on the axis of X. The direction's right, but the threshold was too much. You may think this was right. Those got screwed up still. So keep bringing that down until all of your model is represented. If you ignore this double check here, you will actually have some really messed up geometry later on. So make sure you save beforehand and then go about this practice right here. Undo if you already did it, and then save, and then perform the mirror. So now that I have something like this, hopefully you guys can sort of see where this is going to be going for the depth of it. We have the model. As a matter of fact, I'm going to save this. So I incremented a save. I meant to do a save as. I'll name that bucket_1, something like that. So now that I have something like that, what I need to do is figure out how I'm going to get depth. So it's kind of easy if we think about where these pieces are. If I take all of these, and you know what? Let's just grab these. I'm going to pull down. Kind of hard to see because we have our reference right in here. So I'm going to actually go back to my object mode. So right click, object mode, let go, pull that out. So just these, that's all I extruded. And we're already starting to notice, yeah, I can tell it's a shovel. It might not have the finesse of it yet, but it's definitely shovel-esque in its form, right? So what we're going to be able to do now, let's start to add more detail to get this to really round off and look like the shovel that we need. Our reference shows that this goes in and it goes in over here. Well, if I use multi-cut and I cut here, let's see, something has... Doesn't look like it merged at all. Notice when I'm moving some of these pieces around, nothing's connected. This is an easy fix. I'm going to right click, go to vertex mode, go across the entire middle. I'm going to press this button here, which is merge. So merge, just think about merge as like a way that it's going to combine any vertices that are next to each other into one. So there were two near each other. Now they're just one. They glued themselves in together. Okay. So now I have multi-cut. I'm going to go up against here, cut that. And I'm going to cut that. With that, I'm going to grab this edge and this edge, and I'm going to pull in. That's good. And then again, if this is a vacuum formed model, like it were manufactured, what we'd be seeing is a lip around this edge and a little bit of a higher lip on this middle part too. And that's pretty much it. So let's see how we can accomplish that with this piece here. If I were to double click, notice that it grabbed the entire silhouette. That is great. I don't want all of it. I just want maybe just that. So I got rid of the end. So I went all the way around there. I'm also going to double click right here to grab these. Let's use extrude and pull back. Maybe about that far. Tap the 3 key. That's starting to look pretty good. A little bit of some stuff needs some help. That's starting to look like a kid's shovel. So all I did was take that silhouette and pull that straight back, and now I have this shape. Now I added these right here, and what I can do with that, if I grab these two and then these two, I can push these down a little bit more to allow for that to be a little bit deeper. If I want to make sure that it has a nice crisp edge, remember that has to do with hold edges. So if I double click, I can hit bevel, shrink it down. Notice that I now have that hard edge right there. Let's do that right here too. So we'll go up close, double click. We're gonna hit bevel, shrink this down. We don't need it a lot, just a little bit like that. And now it has that nice lip around here. So some other stuff to maintain the thickness of it. Right now, like it kind of goes to smush right here. So I'm going to just kind of evaluate this by going around some of these edges, scale, and then scale up a little bit. There we go. Tap the 3 key. That's kind of getting there. Let's see. What about this right here? This probably doesn't need to go down that much. What I'm going to grab is this one and that one. Pull that up. Okay. I'm going to grab these 4 edges. Pull this down. Tap the 3 key. All right. We're pretty close to maintaining what I need. I'm going to add another edge loop on the bottom. So I'm going to go multi-cut here. That's going to crisp up this bottom. And then last but not least, let's hide our reference here. It's one-sided, right? Let's fix that. All I got to do, take the whole model, top to bottom. So again, we're in face mode, top to bottom. And we're going to perform another extrude, and we're going to pull out. So now it has thickness. So as I spin this thing around and I'm just evaluating it for its form, it feels like a plastic shovel. I just don't like right here. There's something odd with that. That has to do with, again, the hold edge. So if I look at this, it's there, but it's, I think, right in this spot. I'm just losing some of the definition. All I need to do, really, if I use a multi-cut, maybe cut around here. Cut maybe close to here. Somehow misfired that one earlier. There we go. So now I added this one right here. Tapping the 3 key now gives me a shovel model that has this part a little bit better defined. So this is going to be up to you on how much further you take this. We can still refine this. If I go into, let's grab this edge right here and right here, I'm going to use my move tool, maybe pull that out a little bit more. I can also go around this whole U shape, bevel that. You'll notice the more I add to some of these bevels, make sure you're saving too, because if you're not too familiar with bevels, you can add a lot of them and it can be very hard to get rid of them if you don't like them. But you'll notice the more different areas that I add to bring out some of these details, the more solid that shape starts to feel. Right here, something weird's going on. When I look at it with the smooth preview, it looks like some of these are buckling in. Easy thing that I would do to be able to solve this is to kind of peel back some of these bevels. So we're just going to double click, and if I hit Control Delete, it got rid of all the bevels. So let's actually leave one of them in place. I'm going to go and say, you're the chosen one. We're going to leave you alone. Control Delete. Everyone else is gone. So now if I tap the 3 key, you can see without that bevel, that still looks okay. If I want to have a bevel into here, I'll just double click on that, tap bevel, shrink this down. And let's take this one, bring that close to that, little bit tighter on that shape. Okay, I'm going to double click, hold down Shift, double click, and then add that bevel back. So now I'm not really having that really weird lip that was in there. It's just a little bit of a bevel on that. So this is as far, at least to getting it to this point, this is where I would be going. I want you to evaluate this. If there's anything that you're seeing that you might want to be adjusting, do so. If there's anything, maybe this right here, there's no hold edge on this. That lip might not make sense. Well, how would we resolve that? Well, add a multi-cut and cut here to add a loop, or let's go from here, hold down Shift, double click. We grabbed all of those, and then we'll also grab these inner ones and use an extrude. There's always a couple different ways to do things in Maya. Some are faster than others. This right here allowed for me to just kind of add a hard edge to that back, so it feels a little bit more solid. Again, using the multi-cut would do the same thing. It would just need a couple cuts compared to just one extrusion operation. So that's it. So if I look at this with the smooth preview, I have the shovel and I have the bucket. So make sure that these are labeled. So this would be shovel. And that one is the bucket. We do not need to go any further with this project. I just want to make sure, well, let's put our object in the layer. I added, there we go. We're going to call that shovel. So I don't need any materials, anything like that with this. I just want the bucket and the shovel for this first exercise that we're doing here. So those are what we need here. I have everything in here that makes sense. And last but not least, if I'm going to be submitting this, I want to name this. So this will be called bucket and shovel, and then use my last name and save it. So for whatever reason, I had to reboot Maya earlier, and it's not, the project isn't set to the directory. You can see that it says where it is, but if I go to File, Save Scene As, it's not going in the right directory. So let's fix that. In case this ever happens to you, File, we're going to do a set project. And sometimes we can even do a File, Recent Projects, and we'll go to Pail and Shovel. There it is. Now, File, Save Scene As. There we go. We're back. So bucket and shovel underscore, if I can spell my own last name, there we go. Your last name, save that. And I just need the Maya file submitted, and that is it. So those are the items that I need for this one.